With the rumors of Harry Osborn being casted in the MCU, and no, I don't think Harry is going to be Timothy Chalamet, but it is a really big deal, and I do believe that it is time for Harry Osborn to enter the MCU. I think Spider-Man needs Harry, so I wanted to do a video on why Peter Parker needs Harry Osborn and why he is one of the most important characters in Spider-Man's story. Harry Osborn is more than just a supporting character in Spider-Man comics and in the Spider-Man films. He is one of the most complex, tragic, and emotionally significant figures in Peter Parker's life, and his relationship with Peter intertwines themes of friendship, betrayal, legacy, and the cost of heroism. And over the years, he has played the roles of best friend, rival, villain, and even being a anti-hero, making him one of Spider-Man's most compelling characters. Now, Harry and Peter have a genuine friendship. Peter and Harry meet as college students at Empire State U, where they form a close bond alongside Gwen Stacy and Mary Jane. And their relationship was kind of a rich kid versus the working class kid. And their friendship is built on contrast because Harry is the wealthy son of Norman Osborn, while Peter struggles financially. Yet they find common ground, forming a brother like connection. And also, Harry is, often there for Peter in his difficult times. And even when Peter, disappears due to his duties as Spider-Man, Harry is still there. And why this matters is because unlike villains who hate Spider-Man from the start, Harry loves Peter Parker first, which makes their later conflict even more tragic. Now, Harry's father, Norman Osborn, is one of Spider-Man's greatest enemies of all time, and it is Green Goblin. And Norman is an emotionally distant, abusive, and he is obsessed with power. He constantly just belittles Harry and makes him feel super weak. And Peter sees this, and he often does feel bad for Harry. And because Peter feels bad for Harry, it strengthens their bond. Now, however, their friendship is tested as Norman's villainous, actions kind of escalate in almost every story. And why this matters is because Harry grows up in the shadow of his father's expectations, which fuels his resentment, insecurities, and his eventual transformation into becoming a villain. So now, Norman Osborn is killed in battle with Spider-Man, and this leads Harry to inherit the Osborn Empire and his father's madness. And so Harry does blame Spider-Man for Norman's death, unaware that Peter is actually trying to protect him. And over time, Harry begins struggling with, drug addiction and psychological trauma and his father's legacy, leading his own descent to becoming a villain. And unlike Norman, Harry isn't purely evil. He is a tragic figure constantly torn between his love for Peter, but also his duty to, his father's legacy. And so eventually Harry does uncover the truth that Peter Parker is Spider-Man and that his father died fighting him. And consumed by anger and his father's legacy, Harry does take up the Green Goblin mantle to avenge Norman. Harry's internal conflict still remains this. He hates Spider-Man, but he still cares about Peter Parker. And Harry is one of the most personal villains Spider-Man has ever faced, making their battles more than just hero versus villain, but it's really about, friendship, betrayal, and tragic fate. And in later storylines, Harry does realize the damage his father's legacy has caused, and he has tried to, redeem himself, and he eventually sacrifices himself to save Peter and MJ, proving that despite everything, he was never truly evil inside. And his death haunts Peter, reinforcing the theme of loss and responsibility that defines Spider-Man's journey. And Harry's redemption shows that, unlike Norman, he was never beyond saving, but the cost of the Osborn legacy was too great. And, Harry does represent a lot of things, which is, as I said, right, tragic friendship. Unlike most villains, Harry and Peter were brothers in all but blood, making their conflicts deeply personal. Harry's downfall is a result of his father's sin, showing how a toxic legacy can consume a person. And unlike Norman, Harry has the capacity for good, but his demons often pull him back into darkness. And Peter constantly blames himself for what happens to Harry, reinforcing his defining, saying, with great power comes great responsibility mantra. And so Harry Osborn is not just another villain. He is one of the most tragic and emotionally charged figures in Peter Parker's life. And his transformation from best friend to enemy and ultimately to a tragic hero makes him one of the most layered characters in Spider-Man lore. And so off of that alone, I think that Harry is one of the most important figures off of that info that I just gave you here about them. And I really do believe that to take Spider-Man to the next level in the MCU, you have to give us a deep dive and a deep focus on Harry and Peter Parker's relationship. Yes, we have seen it before and a lot of other animated shows and movies and live action. But I think that is just the way it is. The same way, whenever we get Superman, we will always see Superman and Lois Lane having a deep connection. The same way with Batman, we will always see Batman and Alfred having their deep connection. It will never change. I think that is the same with Harry Osborn and Spider-Man. And when you have Harry in these films, you open up the opportunity to have deep relationships, but also deep guilt, deep anger, deep hurt, and so many other things that come with that. And if you don't believe me, watch the original Spider-Man trilogy, Tobey Maguire Spider-Man trilogy, and you will understand what I'm saying about Harry Osborn and Peter Parker's relationship, one of the greatest, Spider-Man trilogies of all time. So please like, subscribe, and ring the notification bell so you know when we post. Have a wonderful day and peace out.